Hey everybody. Before we get started, I just want to let you know that if you happen to be interested in getting to know the spirits of land and the place where you live, as well as getting in touch with, exalting, elevating, and working with your ancestors of blood, those who came before, your forebears, whose life ways, beliefs, practices, sorrows, triumphs, and tragedies course through your very veins. Well, I am offering my Magical Fortitude Ancestors and Place course to anyone who signs up for a paid subscription to my Substack. Additionally, we're going to be doing a book club here at Soapbox, which we've already begun. We're going to be putting out an episode per book for Roger Zelazny's Chronicles of Amber series, which has inspired such works as Stephen King's Dark Tower series and was heavily influential in, if not directly copied by Neil Gaiman for his Sandman books. And in addition to that, we're starting a Discord server where everybody can hang out, share ideas, and magical experiments, successes, and failures. So if any of that interests you, the link is in the show notes, and yeah, it's $10 a month. Now, enjoy the show.
Okay. So, there's about 100 different directions this could go. I indirectly know Lucas from something called the NAC protocol, which is a whole goddamn rabbit hole unto itself. Rev is also on it.
Yeah, off and on.
Yeah. Joe, I don't think we've ever bombarded you with our autistic documents in relation.
I don't think so.
Okay. The thing is, Lucas, you've been on it. You're one of the early adopters of it, if I'm not mistaken. And okay. So how do I preamble this? It's at its most basic level, it's an antifungal protocol. That is so, but the reality of it is so much deeper and weirder than that. So we'll just start with that very basic thing. So how did you find it? How did you originally discover?
So it was early on in like the UFO community on X, actually. Seth had I was digging through declassified documents and things, and Seth had made a comment on some post about fungus and the grays and well, I don't remember exactly what he said, but whatever it did or whatever he said made a lot of sense to me. I was just like, that lines up with a lot of things you read, and that seems like something I want to know more about. So I asked him, and so we started talking. And he tells me about, how they got started with this protocol. And I don't know how deep in depth you want to go with that. But basically, very quickly, it was completely medical. They were going to India to do this antifungal treatment with this community, trying to solve it with ingredients they could source locally. And it was successful. They got the infections cleared out. And then people started coming back and telling them they had weird dreams, and some people, were hearing other people's thoughts and things, and so they started looking into it a little bit more, and it's very much snowballed from there. It's all very insane when you really get into it. It activates your system to work in a completely different way. You start producing serum level DMT in your lungs and all kinds of different places in your body, which activates this network of sigma-1 receptors and then a cascading network behind that. And it gets very complex. And DMT is not the only thing. It's a whole trace amine system that works together that we're kind of missing out on when the fungus is in the way.
Yeah, but it's basically that we're carrying these. It's actually like a trio, mostly of funguses that all sort of work together. Parasitic funguses that that all work together in your body, and they're in the medical literature. They're considered the term commensal. Commensal basically mean like we actually don't know how to fucking get rid of these things, and they're always around, so they're fine.
It's
fine.
assumed. It's like kind of assumed that it's just a natural part of the human microbiome, right?
Biome. Yes.
Like widely.
And it's really odd because it's sort of like having a shadow twin within your own body. Because
yeah, so the mycelial network, right? It's
yeah,
throughout the body.
it runs parallel to it.
And so it's like it is like a twin of you because it's literally taking your form. And then the stuff that really weirded me out was hearing about how it actually when they look at it, it looks like it's actually especially the cryptococcus, the one that's in the brain, right? It looks like it actually interfaces with the brain. Like the electrical, it looks like it's like interfering and integrating with synapses. Not to like,
it actually builds microtubules right alongside yours. And you know, you can look into all the literature around the research towards microtubules and see how that, you know, can cause a lot of interference probably in your own thought patterns and signaling.
yeah. And that's just to riff for a second on this, like about my experiences, I've always had an overly busy brain. Like from the time I was a child, I would like cry at night because I couldn't stop thinking. And it's absolutely wild the shit that I went through when I went on the protocol. I did have a digital twin experience. Well, rather, my wife woke up in the middle of the night and she looked over and saw me sitting on the bench by our bed, and she saw me in the bed next to her sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And I woke up in like sweats that night, and something had been. And as a spiritual practitioner, I know the feeling of an exorcism,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's the only thing I could describe it as. It felt like I had been purged of something that was malefically attached to me.
And that's
So
the
like,
then fascinating thing with the group is you see those stories over and over and over again.
and yeah, of course, I'm not a doctor. I don't think anyone here is a medical doctor. That's why I'm like, that's my experience is that there's really something to this. I think for me, the main stuff that was really noticeable was with my mind state and being able to have more calm. I still had to like work at it to retrain pathways and such. But it's made a lot of things possible that weren't before.
And that's what I think people, some people approach it and want it to just fix them. And it doesn't, you still have to do the work. You still have to put in the time to help yourself rewire pathways and break yourself out of old habits and things. It doesn't just fix you, but it makes it all possible. And it puts you in the state where you're in control again. And I think that's very useful for most people.
And for you in particular, Lucas, so you do many different things, but I know you do remote viewing, and I just launched this crazy website called the Telepathy Center, which we can definitely get more into a little later. And to get more to the weirder side of things, you've also talked a little bit about how like you had experiences when you were younger, correct? But I'm curious, was the remote viewing, was that something that became possible after you started doing the protocol, or was it already something you were sort of tinkering with before?
So like during high school and stuff, I had read everything about, you know, all these declassified documents that were coming out about remote viewing and UFOs and just everything. So like I was aware of it before. I hadn't really tried it, but as I met Seth and I was again the classified programs were being talked about more, and so I was trying it kind of at the same time I had first been introduced to the protocol. But I was training live on X and was pointed out to me pretty quickly that we were doing things that usually take people a lot of time to train to do. And so then I asked Seth more about it, and that's when he was like, well, it should really help with these sort of things. And that's when we kind of got into the weirder side of things. So that kind of snowballed, and then into the getting hired by Ania and going out to Skywatcher and all of that. That introduction, it became really obvious quickly that the protocol was improving on like remote viewing and things because, be told like some people are just good at it. So I didn't know if I was just good at it or if the protocol was doing something. So then basically I was tested under the same software that was used by SRI in the studies that Ed May developed, and scored very highly on that. And then they tested me a few more times and scored very highly again. So I was hired to help monitor the studies and actually run them. And then from there, I brought in more people from, that were taking the protocol, and they were all showing the same results. And so that, was my first 10. I was like, okay, well, this is something very strange. So then from there, I was given 6 months of training with Angela Ford, which was fantastic. She is, I love Angela. But she, taught us, she doesn't use CRV. And I asked Ed directly about others in the program using CRV, and he confirmed that many of them didn't. And she more teaches you to work with your own intuitive process. And that, of course, is very valuable to people like us who want to learn how to work with our intuition. So to me, that works much better than trying to train yourself into a strict CRV protocol that, I think you can train yourself to do that, but everybody's intuition works a little bit differently. So I think it's better to learn how you do it. I'm not sure where we're going from here, but anyway, that snowballed into we went out to Skywatcher and then kind of did it in the field. But yeah, the more people that get tested under these conditions, the more it just is very obvious that the protocol is doing something weird to your intuitive brain.
Which begs the question, like, what? So it almost feels like the fungal system, that twin, is almost like an inhibitor or something. That
to me, it feels like it. It has its own. I don't know that. I don't know how conscious or anything or what. I don't know how to explain that part. But there is an interference pattern that it introduces. For sure. I mean, it's just very obvious. Angela one night tried to stump us and like gave us 3 targets back to back. And you shouldn't, they should bleed together, and you shouldn't really be able to do that. And after we hit the 3rd one in a row, she stopped us. She's just like, okay, what is going on? I've never seen this. This shouldn't really be happening. You have to explain this to me. And so then we explained the protocol to her and things. So, but yeah, it's just, weird stuff just happens over and over again in front of people that like kind of know what's going on, and they're like, well, this doesn't line up with anything we know about how these processes work. So what are you guys doing? Very interesting.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, so you probably don't know our podcast. We're both Rev and I are, and Joe, I don't know what his personal practice is, but we're both like into the occult and magic and animism and everything. Yeah. So to me, I am willing to state that there is some sort of suppressant. There is an intent behind the fungus. Like, it has its own conscious motivation. Whether it's like, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's necessarily evil.
I think it's just like any parasite. Like, it just wants to eat and have a place to stay.
Yeah. And like, but it is very weird. And it's very weird that, it would cause these kinds of effects, and it's such a level that I 99% of people are not even going to understand that they are going through this. And there's it is a weird, I would almost call it like it's like a parasitic keystone species that, like, except in reverse, like you take it out and then suddenly like the environment gets so much better.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know what the broader implications of that are. Like, especially as you go further back into deep time. But uh, it is really, really crazy.
I think it's interesting, like thinking about how I've always been negatively affected by like intrusive, interruptive thoughts. And like now it simply feels like I have access to all of my RAM and all my bandwidth. Whereas it was just like some kind of like a computer virus that's meant to just jam things up. That's kind of how it felt. It felt like limiting bandwidth. And like I'm very much into some of the links that I've seen drawn in the literature, like between like looking at mythology, for instance, like the
Mhm.
Zeus and the cursing eaters of bread thing, because these are
Uh,
essentially like yeasts.
yeah.
Um, and I think there's a lot to be gained by looking at that. And also the other thing that I'm still sitting with and blew my mind was the time depth of potential time depth of like a flood and that giant pit that humans just threw their trash in for thousands of years.
Terrafold.
And what was that?
Like Terrafold is, I think, is what it's called.
Is that what it? Okay, I remember ideas and I forget like details, so I'm just not very good at life a lot of the time. Um, but that part really got me, like that they were studying tooth decay in humans, and they realized that it just like stopped at this certain time depth, and that happened to potentially coincide with water levels rising and like a an incident map essentially kind of traced it back to this giant pit where all the refuse that humans in the area threw shit into. And you just think like, God, what the fuck was growing down there? And
Mhm.
then like what came out. Like it's really interesting to ponder on like a grander st scale. Like I'm into like deep animism. Um, one of the things I don't necessarily get on board with that I know is part of kind of the doctrine is that just like fungi's bad. At least that's my understanding. It's kind of like this frowning upon mushrooms and
Yeah.
even higher fungi. I don't know if that's accurate. That's just the impression that I've gotten.
That's a big hang up that actually says it drives me nuts because he's really not trying to say that. It's just like the invasive stuff. Like we don't need it in our bodies. Like there's a
Mhm.
place
Okay.
for it. It helps. There's many things that it helps. Like it helps so many systems on like I mean trees wouldn't survive without the fungus. Um,
Good point. Yeah.
Right. I'm
like
like kind of a fungi fanatic for
yeah,
the good ones. Like basically all of life on Earth was created because fungi crawled out of the ocean and started eating rocks and making dirt. So like we have and in my terms, they are a deep ancestor. Um, and like I used to be an addict to some of the most weaponized, horrible substances known to man. And if it weren't for psilocybin, I wouldn't be alive today. Like
mhm.
that is, I didn't need 12-step program. Like, so I have this like, when someone saves your life, right? Like you're
Mhm.
like, oh, this is a good guy. So yeah, I think I'm glad to hear that the people actually doing the research differentiate the helpful from the unhelpful because that just makes sense to me. It's like plants. Like you don't want to eat belladonna. Like
Mhm.
Mhm.
you want to eat like lettuce, sure, but It's just
Well, some people want to eat belladonna, but they're very fucking weird.
well, yeah, I mean in the right quantity. But yeah, I was just trying to randomly pick a poisonous plant because this.
Or no, wait, they rub it on themselves. I forget how that thing's supposed to work.
Not one I've tried. No.
Wait, you said you've tried it?
I said no. That's not what I've tried. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mostly you'd find that in the hardcore like witchcraft revival people.
Really?
Yeah,
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's supposedly well, have you ever heard of flying ointments, witches flying ointments?
Yeah,
Supposedly those are the recipes for them people have rediscovered, and they're usually involve some, I forget the plant species. It starts scolopines, maybe something like that.
Skullcap.
No. Like it's the broader genus. So it's like belladonna, mandrake.
I probably have the recipe.
You might.
damn.
There's a lot of different like flaying ointment recipes out there because there are quite a few plants that are like on the verge of like it might kill you, but if you're a witch, I mean you're kind of used to the idea of like this thing I'm about to do might kill me. I think that's
Yeah.
something that like witches approach as part of their practice, but it's
You have experienced many deaths.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, henbane, that's another one, and then
That's what I was trying to think of. Yeah.
yeah, and then the big mama is datura, which
Well,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
and datura, they're actually in the Amazon. That's part of some ayahuasca lineages. Is that some of the other plants they work with, and datura just sounds like no thanks.
Well, I think it's no if you don't have the proper methods. Like there are plants that like indigenous peoples will tell you if you try to harvest the root of that plant without doing it a certain way, it will kill you. And it's like you don't even have to eat it. You just have to like dig it up wrong in some cases.
Have you ever heard of Coin Locker Babies by Ryu Murakami?
Coin lock. Oh, they reviewed that on
Agitator.
Agitator.
I
Yes.
think it did. I think early agitator. But the terrorist cell in that group want to dump a bunch of datura on Japan for an airplane. It's pretty good. I mean, it made me not want to do it.
Oh yeah, it's like a nightmarish dissociative. If
Aye.
it's apparently in the Amazon traditions, like you take it, but then it's the shaman watches you and then reports back to you what happens. Like you have no memory.
Isn't that I'm pretty sure that's the
Devil's
Michael Herner. Well, I think he like basically retells his experience with that ritual in Way of the Shaman.
Oh really?
I think so. It's really interesting. It's like he basically gets left in the forest to die, and it's like if you survive, you're a shaman, and if not, sorry. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's like if you want to be a shaman, then like you have to put your life in the hands of the spirits and see if they accept that.
Yeah, the spirit comes and saves him, basically. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you find the recipe?
I have the PGM, which I'm sure it's in there. I don't know where it is all of a sudden. It has disappeared. But
the PGM, the Greek magical papyri.
There's quite a
Oh,
few
yeah.
like European cunning craft ones recipes out floating around out there too.
There was a lady in Canada that used to, I think I don't know if she still does. She used to make them and sell them, and a friend of mine had a very early batch that she no longer makes that was actually made with toad venom. And he said it was like the most potent fucking thing he'd ever.
I bet.
and it's just topical. Like you rub it on your forehead, the backs of the knees and the elbow pits and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like where there's a yeah. I messed with them briefly, but then I was like, I don't know that this is for me. This feels very, very weird.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not
weird
that
that
into.
it's weird that I reached for belladonna earlier because it's like I know that doesn't kill you because I have some tincture. Like I just realized like I tried it and I was kind of like I just don't think this is the right fit for me. But like
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I think I had some of her Datura ointment, and I did.
Really?
Yeah, and I did put a little bit on my skin, and it was a very weird state shift. It was very much uh like it was like you felt hollow or something. It was really strange. But it wasn't to such a level to where it was like you were non-functional. It was just like, oh man, the energy, this is strange. And after a while I was like, I don't think this is for me. I'm gonna hold off from this. um but okay, so are you okay, so you were doing remote viewing and then you got involved with Skywatcher. Are you able to talk about any of that? Or is
Yeah,
that NDA to death?
I mean, a lot of people have been out talking about it. Yeah, we can't. Yeah, certain things we should probably share, but yeah, I mean, yes, we were. I went out there on their last trip, and so I wasn't with them the whole time. But yeah, I was. I mean, it was. I had a great time in Scott. I know it. You know, there's all kinds of controversy around it and everything, but I had a great time. Yeah, obviously think what you want about it, but personally, I had a great time at Skywatcher. Um, yeah, saw all kinds of crazy stuff, and had. I mean, the relationships have been fantastic, and you know, I feel like all the psyop guys, you know, you feel like a family out there. We operated together for a week and became very close, and you know, had a lot of late nights speaking with the universe. So it
Excellent.
was,
uh okay. So now you had told me that you'd had sort of UFO-esque or UFO-like experiences when you were younger. Um, did those compare to what was happening with Skywatch, where it was much more intentional?
yeah, it's different. So I spent a lot of time in the Ozarks when I was young, kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And so I spent a lot of time in the woods and had, you know, strange encounters out there that you kind of tell yourself you're just seeing things and stuff like that, and different like lights in the sky that shoot around and things. But you know, nothing. You know, you explain it away to yourself when you're younger, and you just kind of ignore it. And so, and I had one encounter when I was older that was really cool. That I was in my 20s. That was I saw like a star in the sky. It was like 4 in the morning, and it split into like I think it was four. It's so weird trying to remember this stuff. But I think it was four. It could have been five, but it was at least 4 points of light that then like made patterns in the sky and danced around the entire like horizon, like the whole sky, just shooting back and forth. Um, and I watched that for like 30 minutes, and then don't really remember anything after that, and woke up the next morning in my bed. So that was a strange one. Um, I reported that to MUFON. They have a record of that because that was very strange. Um, but yeah, at Skywatcher it was much more direct. Like, well, I mean not direct, but like it was just you know you're there and like they've got this. I mean they're in a spot they know is a hot spot for one, and you know they've been out there interacting with these things. So you're there and it's just like they're already there. Everybody's like it's already active. You know what I mean? It's not the same as where
Yeah.
you're just walking around in public and something shows up. It's like it's there. It's an active site all the time. And so yeah, it was much different.
So it has a feeling of like a what's the what is it, like a liminal space, like,
Mm.
or like you're it's a house party that's always going on. It's
What-
like active.
Dude, dreams, like yeah, it's just it was wild. I've never felt like you're just constantly in contact like that. It was a weird experience. I loved it. Like I said, I had so much fun. But I mean, you go to sleep at night and you just feel like you're just like immediately like tapped into and like talking to something. And, like it was intense.
And it's a desert, right?
Mhm. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
out in the desert, in the middle of nowhere. And like the community we hang out in, like so I have people that have no idea I'm even like away from my house sending me DMs like, "What are you doing right now? Like something feels weird about you. I keep getting weird messages about you." And I'm like, this is so strange. Like the whole week was just wild.
That yeah, the only time I've experienced that, the times that I've experienced that kind of feeling of being like you just walk up and like you're dialed in, it's always a place on a landscape, generally
Mhm.
away from other people.
Mm.
And like as a practitioner and an animist, like my explanation for that is always like these are just the beings that live here.
Mhm.
Um, and like I have a tendency to 9 times out of 10 hear a phenomenon story, and I'm like, yeah, it's the fairy folk, bro. Like 9 times out of 10, sometimes I want to say 10 times out of 10, but like there's that one off that might be false memories implanted by the CIA. Like, um, yeah,
I
I'm just
agree.
wondering. Yeah.
I've leaned heavily into. I mean, I would call myself an analyst as well. It
Mhm.
yeah. The more you read, the more you experience. It doesn't feel like aliens like people describe at
Mm.
all. Uh, there might be an aspect of that, but it's even it's interesting to me because you see all the ancient schools of thought that showed like the layered nested realities around us and stuff like that. This is the same exact topology that like people like Robert or Bruce sorry, um is it Robert Monroe? I get those two mixed up.
Oh,
Anyway, Monroe at the Monroe Institute. And like it's Bruce is the other guy I'm thinking of, Astral Dynamics. But if you look at their topologies, they explain the exact same thing. They describe them as aliens sitting around watching us, and then a layer of watchers, and then like another layer like around them. But it's the same exact topologies that they're describing, and like that's why I think we're all. It just feels like we're rediscovering all of the old stuff that people already wrote down and gave us the playbook for, but we have tried to like describe them in our new technological terms and all of this. It's just different. It's just different descriptions for the same old things.
Yeah.
and does
Yeah.
like us self-professed wizards are over here just like watching everyone else like catching up, huh? All right. But I mean, we all had to catch up too. Like we're all kind of born into a shit show of what even to call this human world we have constructed. It's it's not very conducive to that sort of contact. It's not very conducive to situating yourself in the much wider world we actually live in. Um, and then when you like look at that and I think about how the just clearing certain funguses out of my body has changed things, it's like, it's a rough neighborhood. It's
It
kind of a
is.
rough neighborhood.
We're all just trying to get by.
Um,
Yeah, uh it's it'll be interesting in another, I don't know, 100 years, and they look back on I don't know, particularly the last century, and I wonder how crazy and insane this will be viewed in another 100 years, because it's Yeah, it's pretty wild, the materialist Cartesian split that's sort of I mean, it's also got to make you wonder, it's like, is this a fungal idea? No, I don't know.
No, how deep does it go?
I know. It's and that's the one thing I feel like I've come to terms with over the years of kind of being in this deeper world is that like um it's more shit that you think, more shit than you realize is true, and it's also much weirder than you might ever even consider what reality is.
Yeah, the problem is like it's so easy. There's so much bad information right alongside the good stuff,
Hmm.
and it's so hard for people to know what is real anymore. And I think that's kind of by design too.
Hmm.
Keeping people confused keeps them easy to manipulate. Yeah, it's just a tough system to operate in right now, I think.
Well, I think, if you kind of take like a macro perspective on that, like regardless of what the humans who are doing stupid things, uh, regardless of what their intent is, the fact that that truth is becoming more and more difficult to verify through like
Mhm.
external sources, what that's doing for some people is it's forcing them to cultivate intuition because it's actually the last truth verification method that will be left to us. Like when you can't find an outside source to confirm something and trust it anymore, like you best have your intuition fully cultivated.
True. Yep.
And there's another practitioner I really like, named Amaya Rourke, and she wrote this really cool piece on, I believe it was Harriet Tubman, and how Harriet Tubman was like shuttling people through the Underground Railroad using basically her psychic ability to determine when would be safe and such. And it was like the lives were on the line,
Mhm.
right? Um, and I think that's a really cool example of like that's what humans are supposed to be able to do that.
Mhm.
And like
Mhm.
if the ability to use the crutches of truth verification start to go away, we might all be forced to, well, not all, but it might be forcing evolution and
Mhm.
speeding it up. Or really, or is it regressing to our natural state? I don't know which, but
To me, I would, and obviously I don't know if this is right. I think that I saw a study one time that kind of points to this. That I have to try to find it again, but um, basically that like before we developed language like we have now, it's highly likely that intuitive communication was used, at least
Mhm.
in some primitive ways, and maybe not thought to thought, but like where you're saying sentences to each other. But for instance, people guarding a little settlement or something, um, getting alerted to some threat, and someone else across the village or whatever knowing it immediately was probably something that was very much on the table.
Mm.
Um, I mean, we know these things happen now, and
Mhm. Yep.
to me, it's just likely that before we started communicating with words so much and relying on that so much, that we probably leaned more on intuitive communication.
Yeah, I think it still happens. It's just in much more extreme circumstances. Usually, I read this or more listened to this book. I think it was called Becoming Superhuman or something, or
Mhm.
I forget the name of it. Um, but in it, he was talking about these people who they basically skydive in formation, like base jump skydive in formation, like they do will do tight banks and stuff through buildings and things like that.
Mhm.
And they and he was asking, obviously there's the lead, but then there's all the guys behind him that's following the lead, and he was asking them, how do you judge and what do you pay attention to know when he's making a turn so that you can follow him and not die? basically. And the guy was like, "Well, I don't know. I'm sort of looking at like 1 inch of his boot in front of me." So it's just, I can't. You just go with it. I don't know. He didn't have like a really good like. I can, you look for this or you pay attention to that. It was more just like you kind of all sync up and sort of bond as one organism, for lack of a better term. And that's the only way that any of that works. But it seems that in the modern era, it takes extreme circumstances like that to have this stuff emerge. There's another type of thing. I think they call it the third man phenomenon, where is it's usually happens in survival situations where people and the famous account of this is, I think there's these people that were stranded during an Arctic expedition, that their boat got stuck and they just couldn't recover it. So they had to trek over the Arctic to like some sort of base camp, I think, where they could escape. But it was a very long, arduous hike. And they survived, and all of them recounted and remembered, I think there was 5 of them, that there was somehow a 6th member of the group that was the person that kept pushing everybody on and made sure no one got left behind, and like drove them when they needed to be driven. And all of them encountered this, and like they're like, it was just like a phantom. I don't remember it being any one particular person. They all recounted there being another being there. Which is just, I think this also speaks to that sort of the potentiality that's there, that I think we've lost to some degree.
Yeah, I've read other stories like that too, and yeah, that seems to be not common, but it happens.
Yeah.
But the brain and where you talk about people functioning as one, there are studies showing that when people work, in close quarters, that their brain waves really do match up, and they'll enter flow states together and stuff like that. And I mean that to me that needs to be explored so much more.
I agree.
We're showing data that people are syncing up like that. Points to everything we're talking about here, that all of this telepathy and everything is very possible.
I'm always a bit perplexed that people are content to just leave that. It's a flow state. You've drilled it, and they just never inquire further into that idea. That is a bit perplexing to me. That you could be satisfied with that as an answer.
Yeah, it's funny. You say that because it's like been a growing thing for me how much I fucking hate the term flow state now.
I know what you mean. Because it just feels like a sort of like a thought terminating cliche. Like you don't have to think about it anymore once you say, oh, it's just like once you boil it all down to it, it's just the flow state.
It's kind of like archetype for me. It's like people use archetype when it's like that's a unique,
it's a specific thing
being that has its own agency, and you're removing that agency when you do that.
Oh, I totally fucking could not agree more with that. 100%, dude.
What, Rev, you remember what are those sayings that the Chinese use? It's like physical, like black bars, like when they want to actually censor something that's in real life, and they bring out those tarps, and they're
the
like,
Chinese government. Like if anyone protests nowadays or anything in China, they don't go like they will arrest them if they protest long enough, but the police, so that the media won't get pictures of the people protesting because everything's perfect in China, they have physical like screens that are like black. It's like the black redaction bars you would use in a document, but they have physical ones, and they just walk and like hold them up so you just can't see the people that are protesting. Wild.
Yeah, so I think that we have a lot of things that are like semantic wallpaper.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like Another one to me is like genes. I don't think anybody actually understands what the fuck is going on, and they just and we use the term genetics a lot, and I'm like, I don't know if this shouldn't be as common as it is because I don't think people understand it as well as they seem to believe we do.
I will say, yeah, it's usually the people that don't actually understand that are the ones throwing it around to support some kind of like ideology or argument.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep, people weaponize words and terms these days a lot.
Yeah, you said something about using language less. Have you heard, actually Joe's gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong about this, but like was it Burroughs that had the idea that language was a virus?
For about 10 minutes, I've been thinking, do I bring up the Burroughs thing? The language being
A virus.
a virus from outer space.
Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah.
And it was Burroughs, and exactly what everybody's been talking around. He thought that pre language imprinting itself on humanity, exactly people interacted, intuitively. You would guess through some sort of connected thought formulation. You would guess. He never 100% goes into specifics about that. But listen, the older I get, the more I know where he's coming from. You know what I mean? I certainly think language. We're in an age where language is weaponized everywhere you look. Semantic games, rhetorical games, everywhere you look, you cannot escape it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's a bit dangerous, but just because we are a man as a narrativizing animal. You know what I mean? There is a inherent tendency towards pattern recognition and divining meaning and stuff. So that's why it's dangerous to say this word now means this thing or whatever. You know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah, it reminds me of like the movie. Is it Arrival, where
Oh
they have
yeah.
to learn the alien language because it teaches them to think, not within time constraints. And
hmm
I think that kind of it forces you into ways of thinking, and languages evolved and changed, and words change meanings. We can't talk about demons even in the way they're really meant to be talked about.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a big
Yeah.
one. That's a big one. Yeah.
And that's how the entire lexicon around these subjects don't mean the things they're really supposed to mean anymore. And so it's hard to even approach anything talking about intuitive arts or other spaces or anything, because the meanings have been so bastardized, and it's impossible to even get through to people about what you're trying to communicate.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep.
They just like they're like loaded words, and you don't know which ones are loaded for which people.
Mhm.
And you could just be doing the same thing you've always done, and suddenly like no one understands what you're fucking talking about at all. Um, I have a little bit of like a a working theory on top of this whole language as a virus thing, where I think it's more nuanced than that. But I think for me, what I've noticed is when you're just sort of in a resting everyday going through life state, if you're not doing prayers every day or rituals every day or whatever it is that you do to maintain your consciousness, there's this tendency of like everything you look at, like even if you're trying to be blank slated in your mind, it's like you're naming it as you look at it. There's like a projection of word, of label upon that which is seen.
Mhm.
And I've thought about this a lot, like with my collective experience. What I think is more likely than language is a virus is that language is like it's something to guarantee that the world holds together. because our perception affects reality. And I
Exactly.
don't think that the world would be the same if there weren't people observing it all the time.
Exactly.
So, like, if we look at if I look at this desk in front of me, like, desk is coming out of my mind and onto the desk, I'm labeling it. Now, if I'm in a ritual state, I can have zero thought, right? I've worked very hard at that. But to have no thought and to have that pre-verbal state where you're connecting with things are actually more complex and intricate there. Um, but it's difficult to maintain that and have a normal life, um, like all the time. So I'm curious about it as like a potential safety mechanism that we need to eventually grow out of needing, or having it like we collectively move on from it being a knee-jerk thing that we spit out, even in our minds, like the labeling of things.
Mhm.
And if we all can get to that like samadhi behind it, um, then I think the actual world would have different properties. Like if collectively
Th-
humanity stopped labeling it with words.
this brings me back to remote viewing and why I think it's so valuable. Um, when you are doing it or taught to remote view, you're taught to describe instead of name. And so it breaks you immediately out of naming things.
Mhm.
And as you know, I've progressed on, I think what you're saying about, you know, the observer shaping reality is very true. And I think that that's why weird stuff, you know, people say when you get into this stuff, weird stuff starts happening, and it just kind of like plays back and forth on each other, and like you start seeing synchronicity more, and you know, just all kinds of weird stuff starts. You start seeing people talk about the hitchhiker effect on UFOs and stuff. I really think what you're doing is breaking yourself out of those predetermined labels and possibilities, and now your mind is open to something else. And now the observer effect isn't so strong because your personal observations aren't so solid anymore. And I think you're slowly breaking your mind out of that state. And that's why it continues to ramp up and ramp up. And your brain is continually rewiring. And it's just a process you have to go through. But, you know, it seems to happen in that same fashion for everybody.
And that's like an initiatory experience that changes you. And then your fixed labeling becomes more mushy,
Mhm.
and less intense. And then like that means that your personal reality that you're observing is more easily altered. Um, yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me.
It really does. And you know, there's not solid studies, but there are studies showing the observer effect being very dramatic. There's declassified CIA documents that, again, they studied this extensively and have basically, that was their theory they were working from, that the observer is what's controlling reality. Um,
Did you
yeah,
know
I
that,
don't know.
have you ever heard the lore that like you shouldn't look directly at a fairy being?
Yes, but I don't know why.
Well, I think we just figured it out. Kind of. Like maybe.
Oh,
Like
that does make sense.
there's something about like you have the respect to leave us to the side of your vision so that we don't get you don't try to pin us down.
Hmm.
Mhm.
That makes sense to me.
That does make sense. Yeah, and one experience I had was, it's just making me think of it. There was one time there were three rays in my room, and when I looked at their faces, though, it looked like there was a forest there. Like I was in my room, so it didn't make any sense. But like I could see their bodies, I could see they were wearing. They had these like fairly tight fitting suits on, kind of shiny, and, and like all of weird skin, and one was taller than the other ones. But then I looked up at their faces, and it looked like I was looking into a forest, which I don't know. That just made me think of that. It was really strange.
When did that happen?
Like 3 years ago.
Oh wow, okay. Fairly recent.
Yeah, it was right before I got into all of this weirdness seriously. So That
Were you
always hangs
fully
in my mind too.
were you fully awake for that?
I was going to sleep, and I couldn't move. Like it was like it was. I mean, at first I tried to convince myself it was a dream. I don't really feel like that was the case because it was intense, and but like I couldn't move, and but I could, like, through my gritted teeth, I was like saying, "You are not them," and like I was like straining to say this over and over again, and then I passed out or blacked out, and then woke up like 3 hours later, covered in sweat, still saying the same thing through my teeth, like all my body was all tense and everything. Um, so yeah, that was a very intense experience that I don't really know how to explain.
Wow. Have they appeared at all since?
Not like that, no. And so like when I was young, I had two windows specifically that I was very afraid of, that like I have dreams about, like seeing things outside, like grays outside of those windows. Um, I don't know. I have no explanation for that. Again, it just is another weird little data point that there were two windows I was afraid of for no reason. And so I don't know. They seem like they could be around.
The basically the sensation was similar.
Mhm.
Like from the windows to the
Like now
experience.
now it gives me not a great feeling anytime I think about it. Yeah, it's like a very sinking. That did not feel like a positive one. That is for sure.
Okay.
You know, that's a sort of recurring thing you'll see people say about childhood, especially that you know, the idea that children seem to report all different cultures, all different decades, all this stuff, different upbringings, seem to report the same, you know, like basic feeling of being perceived by something that they can't quite see. Um, it does just make you think, like, why as a as like a species have we decided there's nothing to look into there? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's probably fine, and there's nothing even no even I don't even mean dangerous. Just there's nothing
right.
compelling and interesting and revealing there. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah, and I will say, like I say that like it didn't feel, like a good visitation, but I don't like putting things like that in boxes, because like I
Hmm.
just because we were afraid of it and I didn't know what was happening doesn't necessarily mean there was some negative intent. Obviously, that's like a violation of your personal, like, sovereignty. But um, I still don't like to just label things as like that was a negative
Hmm.
encounter,
Yeah.
because I didn't have any negative effects from it. It's fine.
I think that
Yeah.
that's like incredibly wise to, yeah, it's like
Yes.
I don't like this part of it, and that feels like an intrusion.
Hmm.
And like, yeah, and again, that's back to the like describing rather than labeling, and
Hmm.
yeah, which is something that I learned in like the first magic class I ever took was like, yeah. So it's like it's just so funny to see the same. It's yeah,
That's the thing. They've relabeled everything. I know it's the same. They're just doing the same things over and over.
yeah. And like when people see a bunch of technology stuff in their like contact experiences, it just feels like it's because that's the human myth of now is
Hmm.
progress and tech.
Hmm.
Well, and how, the what we saw, what people describe seeing has changed so much over time, and it always seems to be, maybe the next advancement we're going towards, and like it almost feels like a push along, like, hey, look in this direction now.
Yeah. Yeah, just like kind of like how in the 1800s it was like all the airships that people
Hmm.
talked about
Oh, yep.
encountering. Yeah,
Yep.
that they like which are like flying dirigibles.
Hmm.
And and there was like tons of sightings of those. I think the late 1800s, like all over the US. I'm assuming in the UK as well. Um but where did they go? Did they
And
Hmm.
just upgrade? Did they get the later models? No. You know,
You guys I wish I knew where I just read this. I just heard a description recently that I thought was interesting about basically the Atlantis and everything was like the first version of humans, and then like we like left that and came to live on land and broke away from that and but there were it was right after like Project Paperclip, there were sightings of like weird ships in the sky, and then people found notes in the field saying that like basically it sounded like human, like the government or some private organization flying these ships around and like talking about how they like passed over the mountains and like they had a rough weather and needed to test here, but like they're talking about flying UFOs around, and it sounds like it's just humans doing it, like some breakaway civilization that people talk about. I don't know. It's that's the thing. Is like it gets so complicated. It's like, is there some sort of like through line through like these ancient civilizations that is still operating somewhere?
Probably.
It's, I mean, like I said, it's okay. When I was several years back, when I was deep into doing psychedelics, I had like a 3-year run, and probably after the first or second time doing them, someone handed me a crystal, like just a quartz crystal, and the sensation that erupted in my body. And once that happened, I was like, "Oh fuck, this is real."
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
am I gonna turn into one of these like new age hippies with a bunch of, yes. But then,
I'm a crystal guy.
yeah, but then, oh God. But then the next realization past that was like, if this is real, what the fuck else is real?
Yep.
And like, as outlandish as, oh, there might be cloaked Atlanteans flying around the Arctic or something. Fuck, that's 100% possible. Like,
I
the
agree.
reality is that strange.
I agree.
I
Alternate
can't rule
take.
anything out at this point.
Alternate
Yeah.
take. A secret intelligence agency wrote that fucking note so that everyone would think they were in charge still.
Absolutely.
There's that possibility too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is the actual biggest fear of whoever runs this show on Earth, is that we all figure out we don't need them to talk straight to the spirits, the phenomenon, whatever the fuck, what have you. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, and they don't want to look like they're not in control. So even just convincing everyone, like even though everyone knows about Project Bluebeam,
Mhm.
I think that that might have actually been the point. Because now anything that happens, people are like, is it this? Is it Bluebeam? Is it?
Yeah.
It's muddied the waters.
Fusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm Yep, that's why we just all need to talk directly.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that it's like the more science-minded people, they need to go in through the academic studies and then like get
Mhm.
convinced to try something.
Mhm.
Um, And some
Well,
people are like, have no problem going into the woods and talking to trees, and they figured out that way. But yeah.
uh,
Exactly the goal of the website. It's, it's like is to introduce it in whatever way is approachable to you. We got the studies, the esoteric stuff, and then the theory, and then the next thing is, it's not out there yet, but is the actual tools from the labs to do it, on your desktop or on your laptop or on your phone, and all of it will collect study data, blockchain timestamped, every reveal, every user click, everything is anonymized and blockchain timestamped. And so it'll be an open data set for anybody to look at that wants to. And, the problems with all these studies in the past is methodology, and nobody can really prove that everything was done correctly and there was no cheating or anything. And this will make it immutable. There's no question that the reveals were done correctly and the decisions were made at the right times. So we're going to prove it once for all, hopefully. Maybe it'll all return to chance data, but that's not what I believe will happen.
Yeah, that's right. So you're launching a site, or it's live, but it's more like the research and the sort of the what's the connective tissue with all these different modalities. It's called the Telepathy Center.com. Yeah. So what? I guess what was the origin of this? And but yeah, what was the origin? What's your mission with it? I guess you'd say. Well, you kind of just said what the mission is. But.
Yeah, it's basically, we had all this. Jordan Jozak is my co-founder, and he proposed this to me, and I joined him. But it basically is taking our introduction to all of this and bringing it to whoever wants to join as well. I was introduced in very much how the website looks now is just like being introduced to all the studies and reading everything and getting curious and then giving it a try. So that's what we're going to do. And then alongside that, there will be an app that has a lot of true to curriculum training. So the big one right now that I'm developing is it's the Nada yoga teachings. Everybody knows about the Om and everybody uses the Om, but that is a full curriculum. That is an in-depth system of thinking and way of being, really.
Technology.
And so, yeah. So we're gonna try to bring the actual teachings and real methodology into everyone's hands, and hopefully, people will use them how they should be used.
Is it? I didn't notice the protocol's not necessarily part of it, or is it? I don't remember. It's not discussed on the site, is it?
It's not on there yet. I will put it on there somehow. Seth has his own stuff going on, but yeah, we'll be partnering. I'm great friends with Seth, so we're still figuring out how we're gonna do all. But
that even might be like something to put in like a side section for like just helpful tools to aid you on this journey, like biologically.
Exactly. Yeah. There we'll have that protocol set was like, this is what we use. I don't think it's the only way. I think there's lots of protocols that probably work, but we have one that we think is very solid. And then all kinds of like tools like that just help you center yourself, and breathing exercises and all the basic stuff. But hopefully with our little twist on it, and we're gonna try to be as true to the real practices and not put the new age spin on it and everything. Really keep it true to what it should be.
Yeah, I don't mind the new age spin. Like I said, I got a crystal problem. So
I got tons of crystals. Don't get me wrong.
They're their own special disease. Once you get into them.
This one's sitting right next to me right now.
It's because they're people and they like company.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of crystals around me right now, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. It should be really cool. Built it all myself. Pretty proud of it. It's awesome.
The
It looks
website
great.
It looks really
excellent.
cool. It feels good to just go on it and like watch it do its thing. I was just scrolling down like, this is beautiful, actually.
I think that's an important part of it, not just like, presenting it. It needs to feel as important as it is and inviting and like home. This is it's important. It's sacred, really, not in any religious sense. In the most like, it's important in a sacred
Mhm.
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you on that. Um, is there still plans to do like in-person things? Because I remember you talked
Yeah,
about that. Yeah, okay.
yeah,
But
definitely. Yeah, we're gonna do the website as the foundation, and then we'll spin out to in
build
person
out
stuff.
from there. Okay.
Mhm.
So
Excellent.
that's in the further future.
Yeah, hopefully it won't be too long, but hopefully in the next couple weeks we'll have some more solid plans for everything.
Oh, okay. So that's much faster than I was thinking. Okay.
But we're moving. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm curious, have you ever come across anyone preaching magnesium supplements to aid spirit contact?
Oh, not for spirit. I take magnesium because it's very good for your muscles and things.
Magnesium
I've never heard of
glycinate,
that.
magnesium glycinate specifically. I had a friend who's a very gifted psychic because of two or three near-death experiences, and he did a reading for me, and he was like, your spirits are just straight up telling me you need to take magnesium glycinate because it's like something about it is like the connective tissue to the astral essentially. Like it something about the way that it works in your body has to do with connecting your consciousness to the wider web. And
Well,
it was
that's very
absolutely
interesting.
wild. I mean, like it was like I took it for 2 days and that was all it took. Like shit changed after like 2 doses. It was
Well, I'm going to dig
absolutely
into
wild.
this because now I'm very curious about the method and what it's actually doing in you.
Right. Like what how do you like to try and locate the biological component that might be interacting somehow with the spiritual or consciousness component? It's an interesting cat and mouse
Well,
game.
that's the whole model. So hopefully, yeah, we'll see where it fits in. I'm really interested to see what it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to dig into that. I've got a
Hmm.
little research team that I give problems like this to. My
Nice.
AI console.
That's I think the most exciting thing about the protocol to I mean other than that it's worked for me and I have a much more peaceful mind now is that it is inherently like deep animism. It is
Mhm.
it is having to recognize that the biological and the spiritual are not separate.
Mhm.
They're just like the physical is an extension of the pre-physical.
That's
And
the whole thing. Is I think people miss is this is an entire system. People try to
Mhm.
isolate it into one. Like this is what unlocks this. This is what does this, and it's like it's an entire system.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a very Taoist thought
Mhm.
process too. Um, even the whole magnesium helping the body in general, because the body is the interface to this world. It's your vessel in this, and so and the thing I've experienced through practicing is that like we're sitting on top of a very deep labyrinthian uh structure. I don't know what it's to say. Like your body, there's so much of your that your body is capable of,
Mhm.
and there's so much of it that you can spend a lot of your life not even just being completely blind to. And it's crazy because it's like the one thing that's going to travel with you your entire life and existence in here. And I don't think most people have no clue
Mhm.
what's going on, below their tongue, basically.
When the last time when I was in hospital, I won't go into detail about what it was for, but r- I became really aware. Yeah, tons of the mundane physical processes that you don't think about, but as soon as your health puts a temporary block in amongst a bunch of these things, your body becomes like a foreign thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Rather than the what is it? What is the thing people say? The meat suit you're piloting or whatever. Rather than that, it becomes like a foreign landscape that you're locked inside. And that really makes you appreciate normality when your health readjusts itself, you know.
Yeah.
And I did totally agree as well. I think the for some reason the idea, this is another one of those things like earlier on, like about the people essentially identifying that there's something incongruous happening and then just being content to stop there. I think there is something the connection between the sort of the spiritual, the numinous, the fucking paranormal, whatever you want to, whatever word you want to use, between that and the physical, like a direct A to B connection. The idea that this is like that there could even be interconnectivity there is just people look at you like you're crazy, but it makes complete intuitive sense, I think. You only have to read like a handful of uh like UFO encounters, fucking Bigfoot encounters, or whatever. And the physical commonalities, the sort of symptoms, if you want to phrase it like that, uh, these these uh, these experiences, it's just crazy that you wouldn't that we as a species wouldn't endeavor to really scratch below the surface. You know what I mean? It's nuts.
I think it
Yeah.
might be a particularly Western malady.
It's definitely more of a problem in the West. I have noticed that.
Yeah.
The East, aye. Sorry, you go, Rev.
No, I was just thinking, like, in order to get the self-sacrifice example, like we needed Jesus, we needed this example of like peace, unconditional love, which also is like deeply rebellious towards everything that the world kind of wants to, the human world tries to be. But then like the church came along and demonized literally every being that's invisible except angels and Jesus. And but it's like the medicine that poisons as it cures, right? So like we got this good thing, but this shitty thing kind of came on the tail end of it. And then we got hit with materialism.
Well,
And
but
like
they changed they took out the parts of Jesus' story that made it relatable too, and it made him human. They changed, like the Council of Nicaea, for instance, like they changed so much of the teachings during that one meeting, and I mean it wasn't one meeting, but you know what I mean. It it made it yeah it made him into this mythical thing that was all good only basically very very few examples of him doing anything that isn't saintly, and that's not his whole life. He was a human, like, you know what I mean, like he lived like all of us, and
I think
it's
I mean there are stories in India of him showing up there. So like
well, I don't I don't think how I don't think that's impossible for a human. like that doesn't make, I think he was doing the things that, as he said, you can all do better than me. You can do this better. Like
Mhm.
he wasn't putting himself up there as like this untouchable thing.
right, it's
And
always
that's
it's always
now
by your faith you're healed.
exactly.
Yeah,
Always.
yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It's
It's
been
the pop
turned
Christianity. It's like
exactly.
it's the egregore of Christianity that like people just rest on that laurel the way they do on materialism. They're just like, oh, I've got it all figured out because Jesus loves me and this is great. And
Mhm.
I can continue being like a rule follower. And it's like you have not even read the Gospels if you
Yeah,
think
he
that.
didn't follow rules
Not
at all.
one. Yeah.
No.
I mean, that is a great point. It is every bit, even though it's got maybe one or two more toes in the spiritual pool, it is every bit as landlocked to the material as outright materialism. You're so right about that.
Yeah, and a lot of like modern Christian stuff is it's psychology. Like it's
Oh,
like
yeah, yeah.
using the parables in the Bible to like psychologize yourself out of something you've determined is like a bad quality because you want to be more godly. And it's like I just think that whole it's like it is an egregore, right? It's like this collection of beliefs that has its own weight, momentum. I don't think it's like its own person per se, but it's a collection of patterns and resting beliefs that like self-propagate and self-perpetuate
Mhm.
through willing
Yeah,
candidates.
yeah, those are the sort. I mean, that's exactly what an egregore is a thought form. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. It's that's what all these institutions they all have their own little space in the astral realm that is permanent now because they've become so established.
Hmm.
Mall world.
Oh
Okay.
God.
It's
Yeah,
the
I love how like every couple weeks some random person that is like totally like not having weird experiences will come in and be like, "Have you ever heard of this mall?" Oh God, you got sent to mall.
Are there still are there still malls?
Apparently, only in people's dreams. Apparently, I don't know. I haven't been to this place. I maybe one or two times, but people talk about it a lot.
Oh, in their dreams? Is
Yeah,
that
mall.
that's what you say?
There's an entire Reddit about
aye.
this.
I've seen
Yeah.
this. Yeah. Mm.
Oh God. Okay.
They've mapped it, dude. It's the weirdest thing.
I'm gonna have to sit with that.
It's and like I kind of ignored it when it was just like the Reddit thing, but like I said, then random people that have no idea about the Reddit,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll tell me about it, and I'm like, you're in this place that people are talking about on Reddit. Just you should go look at this.
Okay, I'm not saying that that's what is happening with what I'm about to tell you, but like it rang this bell for me. Um, I would say probably about a decade or 12 years ago. I was at my family's house in Ohio. I I think I was like I had had a fever and then I was basically better. And I was like, cool, just sniffles at that point. And I was in bed and I was sleepy and I was a little high. And instead of drifting off to sleep, what happened was like I got sleepy and I got kind of close to the edge, like not in an in-between state even. I was still on the awake side, but I was like approaching the in-between state. And I had this knowing as well as a physiological feeling that there was a beam shooting through my head that was coming from the sky. And in my mind's eye, I was like sure that it was a satellite, a human-made satellite. And from there, I ended up in a little podunk town in a dream. And there were other people there too. They seemed confused, and I was confused, and I tried to find my way out. And eventually, I walked to the edge of this town, and there's just this giant ravine, and it's like concrete on both sides, and there's water going through it up into like a tunnel that's inside a mountain, and it looks like there's this big compound in there. And I couldn't get out, and every time I try to find my way out, the dream would reset, and I would be back where I started. And this happened 4 or 5 times until finally a drone or something dropped a package on the ground and I opened it. And by this time I was freaked out, right? I was scared. I knew that I was, by this point in the dream world, I was certain that I had been trapped inside a constructed dream for the sake of experimentation. And mind you, this is before I was like leaning actively into being some kind of practitioner of any kind. Like this was I knew this shit was real, but I did not willfully like go engage in that way. So it was terrifying. And the thing I found on the ground was a little bag inside a package, and it looked like that silica gel you get in your shoes. when you buy new shoes to keep the moisture out. But for some fucking reason, I looked at it and I immediately knew I have to eat this. And I put it in my mouth and it felt like electricity. It was the weirdest, like it shocked me and it felt like electricity and it absorbed into my dream body. And after like 5 resets and me being like freaked the fuck out, and other people in the dream we had been talking in the dream about how we were trying to find a way out and we knew we'd been trapped there. Like that's how intense this got. I have never had anything like that before and never anything since. But then what happened was I went to the edge of the ravine again and I got so frustrated that I like focused all my attention on my midsection and I was able to just pick myself up and I just levitated out of there. But the idea that somewhere some asshole with more money than God has figured out like how to construct things in a dream world and trap people in there for the sake of experimentation has never really left the back of my mind. And I don't know, that rung that bell for me. I could be way off, but
That's
this
definitely
also just felt like the right place to share that story. So,
well, yeah, that definitely. I mean, that mirrors that thought that someone has that technology is definitely not. You're not the only one with that theory, but I will say that scenario where you're like stuck somewhere and then there's like something you need to learn to get out of it is extremely common with people that I've talked to recently, and like I've had a lot of those dreams. And yeah, at first it freaked me out, but now like I know like when I'm in one of those, I'm like, it's one of this. I figure out how to get out again. Like one that was really interesting, like I recognized immediately was I was in this like town, and it was all kind of like it looked like it was like we were recovering after an attack or something like that. And we were getting in the car to drive to a nearby town, and with like my sister and my brother and a friend or two. Like as we get in the car, I like knew something was coming, and I saw like a disc craft come above the car, and like in my mind then I was like, oh, they're gonna take us. We need to learn basically how to like block it out, like not let it happen. And so like over and over again, like you said, I like went through this like weird process of like it would come and then like I wouldn't be able to do anything about it and I'd get taken and then like kind of black out again and then reset. And then eventually I figured out how to just like kind of it was basically just like a meditative state and put like a bubble over myself where like then they couldn't get me. But and like I know other people have been taught how to like walk on air and stuff, and it's I don't know what that is, but that sounds very familiar to me.
This is
interesting.
like a training thing happening.
Well, see, okay, my feeling was that the stuff that dropped from the sky that I put in my mouth, whatever the magic silica gel that made me able to levitate, felt like something that had snuck in to interfere with the experiment. Like it didn't feel like it was all the same thing for my benefit. It felt like someone like throwing me a bone to get me the fuck out of there. And the weird thing is, I had never levitated in a dream before that in my entire life, but it's happened like more times than I can count since. So
that's the other weird thing is that there was one time I was given something to eat and I refused it though. And then like the dream changed after that. The people trying to give it to me got really mad. And then like and then I levitated in that dream. I followed like a craft into a pyramid, like following behind it. I turned into like a little orb. And but I've had there's a couple other people that have had like it sounds so similar to where like they're given like it's like a light, like a spark, and then and one of them I know specifically was told that like they were given back their like control over their light body basically. It's just weird how it kind of mirrors like how you levitated afterwards after getting it and stuff. It's all very interesting.
Yeah,
it's like it reminds me of like a sacrament. It's like yeah.
Brian, you do know that there's a comic strip where it's this guy in a room and it's a close up of one of those silica packets and it says "Do not eat," and he's like, "You can't control me." And he eats up, and then the final panel is him waking up, and these scientists coming towards him, and it's like, "You got out! You're finally one of the people that got out."
You've got to be fucking kidding me.
I am not joking. I'll have to track it down for you.
Dude, that's
Okay,
so
so
weird.
the absurdity factor, check. The absurdity factor just fucking 12 years later about the absurdity factor just caught up.
But this is like your you did the man turning into tree short story, and then that was the original Edge of Darkness ending. That is crazy.
Yeah, I wrote a short story in which the main character turns into a tree at the end. And then we've been watching this show, Edge of Darkness, it was a show in England, like a crime show from 1985. And we've been watching that. And apparently the original ending for that show was that the main character was going to turn into a tree. It's just really odd the way things have been
Have
landing in the
you
past.
have you seen the phenomenon where like writers will like write things and then their character like appears? Like I read one recently where like the writer wrote this big dramatic crime story and then like a few later the person was like literally living next to them in the hotel that they were like living in. It's like the exact insane, convoluted crime story that they wrote was this person. It's like the
That's
weirdest thing.
insane. See, that's probably they're picking up on something,
Something.
and they're like,
Or
they
that observer, like they observed it into reality. Like
that's also possible, I suppose. I think it makes more sense to me that the storyteller just like was looking
tapped
for
in.
story and dialed into the right station, and then that person was gonna cross their paths anyway, so that's why they tapped into it beforehand.
That makes like so I really think retrocausality is big in all of this. And
Yeah.
so that makes sense to me. Like that they just knew like they were gonna learn about that person later in life, and so they wrote about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is I think being a writer in particular requires a following of intuition in such a way that I think you're accessing some greater web of causality.
Mhm.
Because there's just there's so many. I think there's a famous one about like predicting the Titanic sinking. I think there's a
Yeah.
story with that. That's a famous one. Rev, I posted in the
Oh,
message.
like wasn't it the Rothschild that like he was funding he owned the company that built the Titanic, but then he backed out at the last minute. That's interesting.
Oh yeah,
He didn't go on the Titanic journey, so he didn't die.
that might have been. I think that was J.P. Morgan.
Oh, it was JP Morgan. You're
I think it
right.
was J.P. Morgan.
You're
Yeah.
right.
Check out the link in the messages. This will fuck you up hard.
How do I even get to the oh like there's a
So
chat in here?
yeah, there's a little chat.
Yeah, we got chat.
Holy shit.
Oh.
This little comic strip happened to me. Like it doesn't have what happened in the dream, but everything else is right there.
That's
What the
hilarious.
hell? Yeah. Okay.
Good.
That's fucking hilarious. I can't. Woo! Oh, I can still remember exactly how it felt. It was like if Pop Rocks and a 9-volt battery were both in your mouth at the same time.
Hmm. I could
Yeah, that's a
I
weird
could
one.
I could interpret that as channels being cleared or opened because you do get these sensations that are, for lack of a better term, like electric or magnetic is the best way to describe them. So, yeah.
Rev, do you think that experience had any influence on you later, becoming interested in the esoteric?
No, because that was from like, I mean, I've always been interested. Like
Mhm.
when I was really little,
You just
I
weren't
would,
practicing yet.
what's that? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You just weren't practicing yet.
Yeah. Like I had experiences from a very young age. Like when I was younger, I still really can't explain this, but like when I was really young, I would close my eyes to go to sleep at night and like I would see like what a person would typically describe like their idea of hell. It was like just gore and death and like skeletons and suffering. Like some Buddhist hell, you know? Like
Hmm.
it was very, very not fun. And I was very afraid. And I had recurring dreams of this what you would maybe call like what people might consider alien looking, right? But it was, I mean, in the late 80s, this was happening to me. I was born in 84, so um and it was like a tall black thin figure with big glowing orange eyes. And at least that's how I remember it, right? Who the fuck knows? Um, but it would come through the sliding glass door in my bedroom that went to the backyard, and it would just walk in calmly and quietly and just grab my ankle and just pull me out the door. And I would always like lose memory the second I hit the threshold to the backyard. Um, and there were a few times where I remember my parents saying that when I was a kid, I must have sleptwalked because sometimes they would just find me on the couch in the morning. And I'm like, I never fucking walked out to the couch. Like,
Dude,
okay.
I got found outside, and sometimes the doors were locked, and they couldn't figure out how I got outside. So that's interesting.
Wow. Yeah.
Aye. I actually had that same thing a few times when I was a child as well. It never happened again in life, but I would like wake up in the kitchen and my at like 2 in the morning, and my mum or dad would be like, "What the fuck are you doing? Uh, you're a child. Why are you in the kitchen?"
Like, I don't know.
Aye,
Hoping you could tell me,
aye.
adult.
I don't think I had any young experiences like that as like waking up at different places. I do have a really early memory of being like uh in my kitchen here at the house and at some point being like, what is this breathing thing? Why do I have to keep fucking doing this? And I kept trying to stop it. And I was like, "Ugh, God damn it." I remember being deeply annoyed at having to do that. I was like, I gotta do this forever? God damn it.
Was that in a dream?
No, that was as a kid. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's
Uh,
interesting because that's one of the ways that I've like become lucid in a dream before was like realizing, oh, I don't have to breathe. Oh, I'm dreaming and I just became aware of it. Okay, stop thinking about that and just go.
yeah.
That's exactly how I learned to lucid dream. As a young kid, I had recurring dreams of drowning, and then eventually realized like that's fine. I don't. So it's okay. You can breathe, and then I flew off and could do whatever.
That's interesting because like I used to smoke a lot of weed and holding a hit in, like I would always work with the panic of the breath, like in that moment, because like
Mm.
your consciousness is changing at the same time, and I would just kind of look in at the terror of not breathing and try to kind of burn it out, and eventually it'd get to that point where it was like there's no fear left. I could actually hold my breath until I passed out, and there's such this like strange feeling of freedom from that. It is wild to realize like you actually have the mental power to overcome things that like you don't think you can. And yeah.
Yeah, that's
I guess
it.
you've wait, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, learning to work like with your body is like so extremely important, like to realize you have the control that you do over your body.
Yeah, well, especially with something as everyday as the breath, that's like this constant, it's always there. And I've been surprised, like I don't know if any of you guys have done any of the Wim Hof breathing or any of the
Yep.
like the
Yep.
breath work. It's kind of crazy. Like I remember holding an out breath for like 5 minutes once. And actually I got to a point where I could do that pretty regularly. And then there was other methodologies where you hold the inhale for like a really long time.
Yep, I can remember that.
And the state changes that'll happen are really intense. And it's so wild because it's so intense, but the control for it is so basic. Like you can easily break that if it's overwhelming, and it's like it's right there.
That's like, yeah, interestingly, I used to do that a lot. I think the more anxiety I had, the more useful the like very long inhales and exhale like type breathing was, because then it draws all that anxiety up to the surface and you can kind of clear it out.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I didn't realize there was a source where it was just continually generating more until that got addressed. But yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's people underestimate the value of basic energy work like that. It's like it's not just like woo talk. It's like, you can look at the physical effects to all of your nervous system, and it's not just
Yeah.
people talking.
I think it's admirable that you're on the front lines of like trying to provide space for people who don't already have an experience or don't already have a belief to get into it. Because for me personally, I've given the fuck up on that. Like like I'm around to like to offer whatever it is I have to offer to um people that already know it's real and just like want, need a little pointers or some help or suggestions to like continue that. But if I start to talk to someone who just outright doesn't like, I just treat it like they're a fundamentalist Christian and like we don't have a lot to talk about in that area, you know?
Yeah, I think that I was where you are, but now I have evidence, and so like when people like I can point to standardized remote viewing sessions that show my scores are very high. So like I have proof, and so it's hard. There just can't be the same type of arguments that there used to be, where people just dismiss you because, yeah, you don't have a ground to stand on most of the time. And I all of a sudden have a very unique thing to point at. So it's hard for people to just dismiss what I'm saying all of a sudden. So I feel like I should, take advantage of that and kind of help open the door for people.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you're out there doing that. That's kind of what I meant was like, I'm not built for it.
Well, I don't really feel like I am either. I trust me. I prefer operating behind the scenes, but I don't know. Like I said, I have a few things I can point at and be like, well, you can't argue with this. So like, let's figure this out then. If you want to pick it apart, let's pick it apart. Let's figure out what's happening if it's not real.
But if you just want to argue, like let me direct you towards a mirror.
But like, we can talk about it not being real. Obviously, that is not what I agree with. But like, if you're at least like willing to look at the real data and talk about what might be happening, then I've found no one that is, after looking at things seriously, is like, no, this is still false. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like anybody who actually takes a look is at least like, oh, well, we need to look further into this.
Yeah, I imagine getting people to look at it honestly is the hardest part. Yeah.
It's also wild to me that I feel like this is this as being a reality. It's only kind of, for some reason, it's only become okay in the last 10 years, maybe, because something, I feel like remote viewing is much more publicized now. And then you have like that podcast telepathy tapes.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
And even things like the Monroe Institute is like bubbling up much more into the surface than it was in the prior decades. I feel like there's something about now where uh, it feels like this is just a momentum and time for this to become much more commonly known, not as occulted, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Well, I think that there is so much more evidence, like in unrelated fields that are making people take a more serious look, because there's theoretical, or well, like quantum mechanics even is pointing towards what might be enabling these things to be working in our minds and tapping into the wider field of consciousness. Yeah, I think it's just become so hard to ignore, like scientifically now. I don't know if that's true, but that's how it just feels like there's so much hard evidence now where people, even scientists that really don't want to admit it, have to take a look.
Yeah. Well, and also the fact, because of the internet and it being such a used to, the internet liked fringe stuff. I guess it still does. It becomes an interesting grist for the mill for people to discuss and think about, and for these things to proliferate more, where and the other benefit is that it's you can directly experience it. You don't need a lab necessarily. You could
Exactly.
just play with a couple things over the weekend, and it'll open you up to the possibilities.
I've thought about it, just like the sheer population size is also doing something, because even a small community now of niche practitioners is a big group of people now. So like you just have more people talking about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's harder. Yeah, it's interesting how things can't be ignored, but still have their own little like silos they're in.
I have a friend of mine that she's like a healing practitioner that very much works with uh I think she would even say off-planet entities. Like literally, I think they've shown her that they're from somewhere else, but there's this like assist that they do, and she calls it the magic space beam. But it sounds essentially like something that it elevates. So it's like if someone has a negative attachment and this beam is on them, it gives the entity the option to either become like angelic and return to like connection with everything and stop being quote demonic, right? Like thinking it's cut off or thinking it's got to self-preserve. Um it gives it the choice to do that or not. Um and Matt, where was I going with that? Oh, and going back to something you said earlier, there was like this thing I learned from her where you can actually like in ceremony with someone else, you can just give permission for the other person to use your virtues and vice versa, so that like you can have added ability while you're in session with someone or in ceremony with someone. And I really was going to bring this to something you were just saying, and now I've completely gone off track and lost it. Why was I?
That makes sense to me, because
Oh,
never tried that. Go ahead.
because she said that someone she was talking to, right? I say that in air quotes because I'm pretty sure it was an entity. Um, but was telling her that something's actually happened very recently, like within the past month, where the human kind of like biome, spiritual biome, has gone from being separated by like egregores, like country and group and such, that the lines have been blurred and that there's been these great injections of empathy. And I find that interesting. And I was like, I kind of inquired a little bit, and she was like, "Well, yeah, the technology we have, right? It's bad. It's not good, but it's like a scaffolding that has provided
Hmm.
us with a greater like tangible connectivity, which has allowed more empathy to form and more like caring for your mutual humans to form, which has broken down slowly these egregorical barriers, um, to where we actually are capable of dropping more of our own shit on an individual level. Like everyone on the planet is now more capable of dropping their individual bullshit and just leaving it behind and extending that caring to everyone else. And I found that really interesting to see like the internet as like this DARPA creation that's meant for surveillance and mind control to be allowed to happen so that we can have this like congealing of the human spirit thing. And then maybe we tear it down and do something better later. But that it's provided this weird thing to happen. I just thought that was really interesting.
I think it's really interesting that last thing. So I've been told the same thing that
Huh.
that yeah, some energy shift has happened. Um, but very so I'm obviously building all this technology and stuff alongside. I mean, got quite the AI system set up here. Um, a very strong message in all of this that I've got is that like this all needs to be built, and we're gonna do it, and it's gonna be, everything's gonna be great. All this new stuff is happening, like you said, all energy shifts. But then we have to be ready to tear it all down, and like that something's
Well,
gonna happen. So we'll
so
see. I don't know
that's
what that means, but
so that's
it's doing the signs up.
100%. That's 100% confirmation from your end of what my friend was saying.
Yeah, it's just it was weird how much that lined up with what my personal messaging has been.
That's pretty exciting.
So we'll see. I know. I think I'm building something pretty fucking awesome here. So I don't know.
I mean, the thing that I've personally noticed is that in recent months, it's just been easier to not be a shithead. Like all my internal, my desire to be selfish or cut a corner or even stubbing my toe and like being like, fuck, goddamn fuck. Like it's easier to just be like, ah, ah, and like not put the verbal negativity out with that intent. It's really weird.
Okay. Well, so that again like feeds into something else I think is extremely important is that like emotion needs to be treated as a true force and like in the deepest sense of things to where it's the engine from which everything else flows from. So everything flows into that. So like that's a very complicated system. If it works like that, everybody's emotion, everything around you's emotional energy affects this. But like you're saying, if a big shift is slowly happening, that even small encounters like stubbing your toe is treated differently. That's maybe forcing along this shift in energy that we don't take seriously right now, but is really going to change the way technology even works. Because when it's not being influenced by that negative emotion, that it could truly function differently,
Yeah.
or new technology being made and developed could function differently if not surrounded by that. And it's simple to look at that as this new age type of thinking where it's idealistic and everybody's just going to be good and everything. And but that's where that weaponization of words gets into play again, like where like it's easy to take that at such a surface level, like we should all be good and be better and treat each other well, but like to truly put that into practice is something else. Something else entirely. And whether you want to look at that on an energetic level or just a very physical surface materialistic level, everybody acting that way will change things. So like, it's just you not cursing at your toe might change the way somebody else next to you reacts. You know what I mean? It's just like those little butterfly effects, which again sounds all new agey and stupid, but like I think we need to start taking some stuff seriously.
But the data is there for morphic resonance, so
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's science here. Like we're not just dreaming here. That's real data, real science.
yeah. I mean, the people still rolling their eyes are going to be the ones miserable and left in the dust until they work it out.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we'll figure it out.
They'll get there. I hope.
You can bounce out, Kurt.
Yeah. Yeah, I stayed way longer than because I didn't want to go. But yeah, I have to bow out. I've got to earn money, unfortunately. I can't, these crystals just won't generate it themselves, no matter how much I yell at them to do it for me. They won't.
Problem right there, you're yelling at them.
Oh.
Well,
it's in a very sing-songy voice, though.
I was going to say, try whispering to them lovingly.
Yeah, but I have to run, unfortunately. You guys do not have to stop. You can keep going.
I think we'll go for like a few more minutes just to wrap up. But like, I also have had a really trying day, but this talk also has been very good. Like, I didn't expect to enjoy or be this engaged because it's been a hard day. But like, yeah, I feel like I want to like have you back and talk again sometime in the near future too.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing. Is just the stuff I could talk all day. Like we could cover so much more. I'm sure. Yeah, there's months of conversation really if you really wanted to just like cover it all. It's just that's what's so fun though. Is like there's so much to talk about. There's so many different areas to cover. Like it's just that's the other reason I can't figure out why more people aren't interested. It's like you can literally talk about something different every day, and it's it's awesome.
Most people are lame. I think it's just the problem.
Right?
They're just lamos.
Well, I think that is people are doing that because they all have everyone in the world has a podcast now, but
that's true.
They're not necessarily talking about anything that matters.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's the thing. But yeah, like everything goes back to this stuff. It always does.
Well, I have trouble talking about anything else because then I just relate it back here. I'm just like, well, but that actually is because of this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I always say, like politics is always downstream from where the archons shit.
Yeah.
So you don't really want to address it there.
I think of it as an invasive species. It always wants to take over everything that it pops up in. I think that's my problem with politics. All right.
Go make some money, Kurt.
Okay.
See you on it.
It's good to talk to you.
It was great to talk to you, especially face to face. So awesome.
Yes.
And I'm glad we could make this happen.
All right. Absolutely. We'll talk again soon. Anyway, but yeah, I don't know where you want to go from there.
Lucas, this has been such a fascinating conversation. I'm obviously less well versed in all this stuff than Rev and Kurt, but just them sharing your website and I've took like a full page of notes of shit you guys have said. You know what I mean to look up later. So thanks. It's been great.
Thank you guys. No, and I'm gonna add like. I think I've got 2,000 studies at least to add to that study section and all the more frameworks and everything, like all the esoteric frameworks and everything. That whole section is going to expand, so it'll get a lot cooler.
That's amazing.
Excellent. Look, and kind of what we touched on glancingly earlier, I don't just think it's cool. I do think not to put a lot of pressure on your shoulders, but this, what you're actually doing right now, could prove to be important. Even, you know what I mean? So there really aren't a lot of people uh, poking about in these areas. So keep it up. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Like, I know, you know, I feel like it's important. I'm proud of it. But it's hard to know where it'll go. But like you said, yeah, hopefully it makes a little difference somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
I think putting all of it in one place is a big, big deal. Like, especially the research, because some people know there's data out. Like, I mean, I know there's data out there to support. I could not provide that data for someone if they asked for it. Like, I would
Mhm.
just be like, I don't know, fucking look it up. Like, because that's not my bag. But now I know where it is. So if I get
Mhm.
into a conversation with a STEM science guy who is like willing to look at something like that, like I can just send them over. Like
Yeah.
that's important. That's important that the people who have the academic materialist rigor, uh, it's all in one place. Or it's going to continue to gather there. But like, yeah,
That's kind of like what you said earlier. Is just like when a lot of people, when you try to talk to them, they're just like dismissive, and it's like, well, at least now that was my thoughts too. It's like one spot, you can be like, look, go here. You can see how it all connects. Do your own research, like we've all done, and see if you have the same questions that we do.
it's also nice because like I think everyone who believes in more than materialism is kind of tired of trying to sell the more to anyone else.
Mhm.
So it's almost like it's fucking there. It's if you want it, it's right there. And like if you don't go through all that before you refute it, then you're just being lazy and I don't have to listen to you.
Mhm. Yeah, and the rest of us can, work on our practice
Yeah.
while they read.
The rest of us can talk to other beings, like
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
a lot more
that's
exciting than whatever they're doing.
yeah. It's so much more fun. Yeah, do you guys are so one of my big influences, Aiden Walker. Are you familiar with Aiden's work?
Oh yeah, I haven't read his stuff, but I've heard him on enough podcasts. Like I really appreciate his sort of tack or approach.
That's what.
I'm a huge fan of Frater Acker. I don't know if you've heard of
Mhm.
him, but it's kind of similar. It's sort of this like you go out and sit with what's there and be respectful and patient and
Exactly.
yeah.
Don't ex- don't really expect anything. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but he's got 3 books out now that are awesome. But it's very he just writes in a very direct, like, this is what worked for me. Go try it out, and no like dogma around it. Just like, these are the facts. Um, but his new book that I just took, he did like a trance class where he's basically took you into these deep trance states, these 8 different realms. It's really cool. But
Hmm.
it, he his new book though that he keeps talking about is very different, and it's all like channel notes from his beings and stuff. And so I'm excited to read that. It should be really interesting. It's gonna be a lot different than
Ah,
his other ones.
that's cool. That's really cool. I really enjoyed channeled material. Uh,
Mhm.
even if it's like ridiculous, or even if I read it and I get the vibe that this is some trickster, like just fucking with everyone who's reading it, knowing that it would get published, um,
Mhm.
I still fucking enjoy it.
It's fun to read through and like just see what other people are receiving. I mean, it's just good information, I think.
No information is bad information. Like if it's actual information, it counts for something and it adds to the bigger picture. And uh, it's only our own limitations that prevent like all the data from going somewhere useful.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's so. This is an interesting thing. So this is one of the AI systems I have set up. Will take like I can feed. I've got all of the studies, like the declassified stuff and all the esoteric stuff and all the theoretical frameworks and everything, and encounter reports, channel reports, everything. And so it'll run through all of this and find through lines through all of it and find like all of the different, like where, the physics might line up with these ancient esoteric practices and stuff. And like it finds so much cool stuff. And so I'm going to start putting that out there on that site too. And like showing how all of these things work together. And like, it'll kind of be like a guided tour through things. I think that'll be valuable.
That'd be excellent.
I imagine you probably have, but have you read the Cosmic Serpent?
I have not actually.
Jeremy Narby, I don't know if you've watched or
read it down right now.
But Jeremy Narby in general, like, go check him out. There's actually a talk where he's like speaking to a room full of strict academics, and he has the vibe of like, I am still high as fuck right now. Because the look in his eyes, it's like you can tell he's still in it. And
like tripping.
Yeah, but he spent extensive amounts of time taking ayahuasca in an indigenous context. But like just watching him use logic to get like rippling, uncomfortable laughter, the kind of like, oh, that's a truth that I wasn't sure I was ready for. He has the audience like that rolling through like multiple times, and it's just it's beautiful. If I find that, I'll just send it to you if I find that specific one. But and the Cosmic Serpent, like really cool stuff in that book that I think would really work for trying to. He connects it to the double helix. Like there are paintings from God knows how long ago that really just depict human DNA strands. But it's also connected to the serpent, like actually. So it's fascinating stuff.
Well, that's what I think is so fascinating is I haven't seen that one, but you can find other examples where like, these people are describing these things that they've seen in their visions and everything, and they're describing them as serpents or however they're able to put them into words, their frame of reference at the time. But like, yeah, they're describing DNA and it's describing biophotons and all these different things that we're now learning about in scientific ways that they were just describing from their intuitive experiences. And that's why I think there are so many through lines, and we need to study the esoteric stuff so much, because I think it's the playbook. It's already there. They figured it out. Just without the scientific instruments that we use today.
Yeah, I wonder how much the Temple of Hathor has to tell us that we just don't have eyes to see. Like, we already know that its measurements and everything are after the human body. Like, it's an exact, like, I think it's like a geometrical, basically, avatar of the human body. But like, I imagine there's so much stuff that either is or used to be intact in that temple that has deeper secrets embedded in it, because it just seems like a monument to the mystery and the magnificence of like human in general, just the concept of human.
That's what, if everything works out how I'd like it to, that's exactly where we'd be doing like our in-person events and stuff, as at sites like that, where we can also go and really investigate while we're there and do some real on-site work rather than just having an event.
Yeah.
That's I want to. That's exactly what we need to dig into. I mean, there's just so much to explore, dude. It's very exciting.
Yeah. It's so funny. Just the other day, I was like, I said something to Joe like, well, if I can almost guarantee if you go to a Long Barrow and offer a whole chicken, something will happen.
Yeah. Have you ever read like the PGM? It's like it's so funny. The spells in there are like, grab your crow and go wash it in your goat's milk, and then take the black cow over here. Like, do people just have this stuff laying around? Like, you just apparently you just have a crow that you can go wash in your milk, and fine. Like, what are these instructions?
Well, there's actually a lot of interesting stuff going on, like potentially with the PGM. I don't know where it is anymore. But at one time, I came across this really great article on how, and I don't know if it's true, right? But one person's take on it, and they were like, I think they were classical, they studied the classics, maybe a philologist or something. Um, and they were talking about the those things being actually code for different plants. And I'm like,
that would make a lot of sense.
maybe. But then I've read other things that explains like the actual logic behind like why this bird and like
Right.
why do you drown the black cat, and take out its eye and like um and it's what's really weird is I've most of those arguments make sense to me, even if they're completely opposing one another. And so I
That's
don't
the
know
problem.
exactly what's going on there, but I'm always interested. And
Well,
you
that's
don't
why
have
we just have to take like the ones that aren't so terrible, like drowning a cat and cutting out its eye, and see if they work with the real materials. And it's like, the ones that are more like take a pure piece of gold and line it in this specific metal and then carve this on it. Like those seem more achievable without having to murder a
Oh yeah, that stuff works. I
cat.
mean, when it says, if something says it'll make you invisible, you're not going to turn
Right.
transparent. You're going to be harder to notice, right?
Mhm.
Right.
You have to interpret for the animist ancient mind and translate it into the more literal modern
Mhm.
tongue. Uh, but I will say that like you can use a fake, like a stuffed animal and drown that cat and
Mhm.
it still works. You can take out the stuffed animal's eye, and it symbolically, it still the spirits still show up to the party, even if the invitations aren't on the nicest cardstock.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
It's always
uh,
the intention. It's the intention.
Yeah.
It always boils down to the intention behind things.
yeah, because it goes back to the like the observers affecting reality. So like if you can convince yourself that that's a live cat
Exactly.
while you're
Mhm.
drowning it, then it, for all intents and purposes, it was.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Um, It's probably still not as potent as if you did the real thing, but it passes,
It'll
it
get you
works.
there.
And that in and of itself is incredibly fascinating.
Yeah, there's some actual really fascinating studies on like ritual, like they did them in labs, rituals in labs having like real effect on the outcome of like intuitive practice afterwards, where they try to either do remote viewing or some sort of telepathic prediction or something like that. Doing a ritual beforehand increased the effects.
Yeah. I would be really interested to see like control groups where you have a practiced magician who knows what they're doing,
Mhm.
put an invisibility spell on one of the groups or one of the targets,
Now,
right?
have you? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
And then just collect the data as to like these trained remote viewers who do have a good record. Uh, how many
You see
times
them?
does the invisibility spell like actually stop them?
Have you seen? Have you read Dean Radin's newest book, The Science of Magic?
I think I read part of it. I've heard him talk a lot, and I've often pointed people to him who don't really believe in this stuff yet, but seem curious. But I haven't really actually read him that much.
He's well. I that new book it's just awesome because there's literally like there's probably 800,000 studies that he cites in there. So just the back of the book, you can like every single one of them's in there, and it's stuff like that where he's just like taking, magic and putting it in a lab and seeing what happens. And like he has like a lot of studies where like um, you know practitioners are much more effective than just somebody you pull off the street.
Oh yeah.
I mean, obviously, but it's just, he has real data speaking to like there is value in this practice and taking it seriously.
Which is exactly why someone was trying to get him and Jeffrey Epstein introduced. Like
Wow.
Yeah, Alex Fungus, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Because I know like the power elite are very interested in this kind of stuff. The the nice bell curve is that only shitty spirits would fuck with them. That's
You
like
know,
I think that bad people will always like inherently people who have
and
fallen off the track into like the realm of demons,
unless
they
they
have a disadvantage like because the wider universe is like we're at a point where altruism gets more support.
Mhm.
sure what it seems like. That's, I mean, yeah, that's unless they figured out how to like capture some of the better ones. But
If you
but
what?
if they figured out how to like capture some of the good ones and force them to work or something, I don't know. That's
Yeah, yeah.
that's just an off thought. I just
Don't give them
had,
ideas.
yeah, exactly. But but that's exactly like we have the Telepathy Center website. Everything we've done, we've accepted zero. Like, there's been no funding. It's just us doing it. It's we are not attaching to anything established yet because of all of the outside influences that have been manipulating this field for so long. It's just it felt better to not attach to any of it yet. It's just it needs to be clean. It needs to be
Yeah.
clean to start off.
I mean, that you saying that right now, like my mind just flashed to like preparing a space before ritual.
Mm-hmm,
It's
mm-hmm,
like it's important that things are clean.
Mhm.
mm-hmm.
And I get the sense that like this is some kind of ritual. Like you're bringing things into one place, you're making sure it's clean. People can trust that it's not being manipulated because it's just something that you and your compatriots have decided to do. You're just doing it.
That's how we're treating it. Exactly. That's how I think of it. It's very ritualistic. It is, like I said, sacred in the deepest sense, not in some religious nonsense. It all has to be done intentionally, very specific. Mhm.
Well,
USD.
if either of you have any closing remarks, now would be the time. I want to make sure and mention again that it is thetelepathycenter.com.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I don't have anything else more to add. We're starting out, and yeah, it's just us doing it. So everybody's invited along for the ride.
Mhm. I would just urge anybody listening to check out the website. You know, that's it. This is again, I think it's important. Uh, there's a real that this stuff just is in the air right now. You know what I mean? People, I do think you can feel, as you guys were talking about earlier, that there is more of a willingness to entertain ideas that would have been dismissed out of hand relatively recently, so just everybody should check out the website.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really like just looking at it, you want to explore it because it's visually beautiful and not at the expense of like being too slow or anything. Like it's just nice and it just works. Um, but yeah, thank you so much. And I have your email now, so I'll probably be in touch whenever I am perusing the site and I'm like, oh, you need to add these things to the esoteric section. Let me just send you some PDFs. Um,
Absolutely. I need them all. Yep. I know there's so much work ahead. That's the thing. It's just, I'm just doing myself. So there's so many things to add. There's so much to do, but like, we're getting there. We're getting there. And like, seriously, if people, this is going to be a group effort. Like, this is not mine. This is not Jordan's. This is everybody's. We're trying to build, something new. So everybody
well,
reach out. Let's do
it's
it.
very, very cool and very
Excellent.
admirable and very needed. So yeah, man. Great to meet you, great to chat, and everyone go check out this website. And if you don't need it personally, because you're already like a magic person, um, you know people that do, right? Like even if you don't need it, you know people that are interested, but they want to see the data. So like, just send them to the data now.
Yeah, and like that's the next step is, building out the community and like getting us all together and not operating and so scared to talk about this stuff publicly and acknowledge it, like that's the next step is everybody having our coming out party.
Yeah.
We'll see about that. But
all right. Well, yeah, we'll be in touch, and thanks again.
Thank you so much. It was great talking to you guys.
You too.
We'll be in
Right, you
touch.
too, mate.
Peace.